I'm Joy, and I did say that I was going to do a chapter reading today, and I have not done anything live or speaking wise or anything since Rona showed her ass and is continuing to show her ass. So this is my first foray into doing something live that is not immediately going into business or doing something else. But I do have my book, How My Ancestors Drink Whiskey, and I had every intention of reading one of the chapters that I had posted on Monday until today happened. And I will share a little bit about today, and the chapter that I am choosing to read today has to do with what I've experienced today. I've actually shared this with two friends of mine. I was talking to them about it earlier today, but y'all know me. I am transparent as I can possibly be. I am pro-therapy, I am pro-hoe, I am pro-sex, I am pro all of those things. And because I am doing the work that I'm doing currently, it's really important to me as a burgeoning sexologist, not a sex therapist, haven't gone to school that long yet, burgeoning sex coach, all those things. It's really important for me personally to allow this work to do for me what I want it to do for others. So I want to be a product of the product, if that makes sense, if that rings home or true for anyone. So for me, it's really important to talk about these things and be really honest and forthcoming, while also dealing with the trauma that I have dealt with since I was a kid. I dealt with a lot of sexual trauma as a kid, and because I'm my big age of 32 now, I'm working through how that has manifested in other aspects of my life. So I have recently started seeing a sex therapist on top of my regular CBT therapist that I've been seeing. It'll be 2 years in May that I've been seeing Dr. Tubman. That's my nickname for her. I call her Dr. Tubman. That is not her real name, but for me, she is Dr. Tubman. But I just recently started seeing a sex therapist to really unpack the stuff that I have been immersed in and didn't know I was immersed in. So I had my second therapist session today, and I'm not ashamed of sharing. The word isn't ashamed. I'm not one of those people that's like, no, I gotta hold on to this. This is my thing. This is my truth. This is for me. It's like, no, some stuff, yeah, is for you, and then there's other things that are for other people, and you can share the wealth if you need to. So what I love the most about my sex therapist is that she's also an adult star, and she's really helped me, even on the outside looking in. I've followed her for about 2.5 years, and on a whim, when I realized that she's also a licensed therapist, I reached out and said, hey, do you do sex therapy? And she said yes. So we had our very first a few weeks ago, and then we had our second today. So today started off with what I wanted to share, or how has my life now been informed by the choices and the understandings and the ideologies and the thought processes in general, but leading into sex from childhood to now. How has that been informed? How has that been crafted and created? So I'm sharing about that, and I'm talking about how it always felt like I was paying for something. I was paying penance for something. I was paying for my very existence on this plane because of how I came to be. And it always felt like I was paying penance for something. And unfortunately, a lot of the adults in my life kind of made that true. It's like, you have to pay for the sins of your father. You got to pay for the sins of your mother. And because I grew up in church, that was something that I always heard. So I took it very seriously. I took it very personally. Okay, I have to own up or fix these things that other people have caused. And I can't shake the table. I can't do anything about it. I just got to do it. So that was my understanding, and that's what I did. I just did it. Y'all told me that this is what I got to do, or this is what I'm going to do. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I did not know how much that was causing me to suffer until relationship after relationship was abusive. I'm going to share some stuff here that not many people know, only a select few know, including my 2 therapists, about this particular situation that happened in my last relationship. So she asked me, what is it that continues to inform this, and how has this transferred over into your sexual and romantic relationships? And I said that it always felt like I had to perform, how I had to be perfect. I had to be as out of the way as possible. I had to do whatever it is that needed to be done so this individual was comfortable. Whether they asked me to or not, it was ingrained in me that I just need to be out the way. And because of how I came into this world, it was kind of par for the course for me to be out of the way. Out of sight, out of mind. If I don't see her, she does not exist. So that rolled into all of my relationships. So one of the things that really, and I'm going to be cussing on here, if you got sensitive ears, I'm sorry. One of the things that really caused a huge mind fuck for me in this last relationship was, I'm sharing with this individual all of the things that have happened to me, for the most part. Here's trauma here. Here's this thing here. Here's this. And in my mind, I'm doing it in a way in which, hey, here's some things that I've dealt with. Here's how I'm working through those things. It'll be real dope if you don't bring those things to me as well. So my therapist was like, listen, I understand and I appreciate why you chose to do that, but let's walk through this analogy. So she talked about the analogy of my house keeps getting robbed. And I'm really pissed off about it. I'm telling people, yo, I've been robbed like 3 times. I don't understand. It's really pissing me off. I'm sick of this shit. And I'm just telling this individual, somebody that I thought I could trust, somebody that I thought had my best interest at heart, about this thing that keeps happening. It just keeps happening over and over and over again. And she's like, there are 2 trains of thought that could potentially happen from this. It's either going to be the person that's going to look at that and go, well, why didn't she do this thing? Why didn't she do anything to protect herself? Why didn't she do this? I would have done this if it was me. Or you have the person that's like, oh, she's been robbed three times. What's the 4th? What's the 5th? She already knows what it feels like to be robbed. So why can't I do it? And obviously she don't know what she's doing, because she wouldn't have been robbed 3 times. So it don't hurt for me to do it. And I'm sitting there on the other side of the phone like, yo, I never thought about it like that. And she's like, when we, especially those of us that have dealt with trauma, specifically sexual trauma, we have a tendency to go, oh, if I would have just done this, or if I would have just said this, or what if I didn't go out that night? What if I didn't wear that outfit? What if I didn't do this? What if I didn't do that? And it's a really screwed up thing that our brain does. Majority of the time it's unconscious, but it really screws us up because it tells us or tries to convince us that anything that we say or do, in any of our actions, could have been able to change the situation. And what she said to me was, the pathology of someone that is out to harm has nothing to do with the individual. It has nothing to do with the person that is being harmed. And in some ways, I've heard that before, but finally sunk in. And maybe because of all the unpacking and the unlearning and things that I've done, especially over the last 2.5 years, it finally had a place to take root. But today, her saying, I don't know why the word pathology really struck me for some reason. But when she said the pathology of this individual is to harm, there's nothing you can do about it. And it wasn't a situation where, oh, if you wouldn't have just dated this individual, if you wouldn't have just said this thing or whatever, they were going to harm because that's what they do. And me being somebody that I struggle with this, I don't know if it's the Virgo in me, I don't know if it's just because I've been traumatized, I try to compartmentalize everything, but a huge part of me always wants to know why. Why did this thing happen? Why was this the choice? Why was this what we decided to do? And many therapists, even leading up to the 2 I have now, have always clocked me on my desire, my steadfastness in trying to rationalize the irrational. And she's like, you cannot continue. You're going to drive yourself insane. You cannot continue to try to rationalize the irrational. So, and understanding that, in the midst of talking about that, I tell this story. The person that I was with my last relationship, in the beginning of our relationship, very beginnings of our relationship, when I thought we were exclusive, I later found out that we were not. I had, I've done something to try to, pick up his spirits, because, he was having a hard time with some stuff. So I had gotten a hotel room, and this was like one of our first few times having sex for the first, in the beginning of what I thought was a relationship. And so we're in the midst of having sex. I watched him put the condom on. And in the midst of it, in the midst of literally my back being turned, I need you to read through the lines of my back being turned, he removed it and continued having sex with me. Unbeknownst to me, without my knowledge, without my consent. And when I reached to, because something felt wrong, something felt off, something felt different. So I asked, hey, did you remove the condom? He didn't say anything. So I asked again, did you remove the condom? And never got a yes or a no. It was mainly just, oh, well, I just wanted to see what it felt like. I just wanted to know, you looked clean. I wanted to see. And there are many things in my life that are a blur because they are traumatizing. And my brain, in the very few ways that my lizard anxious brain helps me, is by helping me to move past certain things. And so I remember, after realizing what was going on, backing away slowly, laying down on the mattress and just kind of like sliding away from this individual. And he begins to like lay down beside me and try to console me about what just happened and what he just did. And I just remember him trying to coerce me to keep going. And when I said, like, I'm not doing anything else, especially not without a condom, because we're brand new in this thing, I could tell there was some animosity. There was some like, it was like that. Not so much with that actual physical reenactment, but it was definitely a space of like, And we didn't do anything after that. And it wasn't until 3.5 years later, and with the therapist that I have now, not my current sex therapist, but the therapist I've had for the last couple of years, it wasn't until I started seeing her when I realized that, trigger warning, that is rape. I did not know that. I was unaware. And, you know, the thing that I was having such a hard time with her, then it was like I continued on in this relationship. And it's something that she's always told me is like, and I have to hold on to those things because it can be really difficult those moments when I sit down and think about it. She was like, you were operating from what you knew at the time. At the time, you did not know that was this definition. Now you do. So do not abuse or harm yourself for reacting in a way or staying or doing whatever it is that you thought was the right thing to do at the time. So here I am 4.5 years later, 5 years almost. No, 5 years. Damn. 5 years later, discussing the fact that was intimate partner abuse. That was rape. So I told this story to my sex therapist, and she is giving me the support, and it was violence. That was sexual violence. And I think a lot of us, especially those of us that have been traumatized in one way, shape, or another, big T or little t trauma, we equate violence as bloodshed, bodily harm, anything where somebody's body has been abused in one way, shape, or form. We don't immediately equate violence to emotional, mental, sexual, some financial, spiritual. We don't equate that. And we have this really bad habit of, oh, well, it wasn't abuse because they didn't hit you. It wasn't abuse because you were in a relationship. And a lot of states don't even acknowledge that marital rape is a thing. Like, so it's really difficult to kind of thread that needle because it does feel like you have to explain. No, I don't have any bruises on my body, but my spirit for a long time was fucked up. And I did not know how fucked up I was. I did not know I was in an abusive relationship until it was over. And then you have to do the post-mortem, or you choose to do the post-mortem of that relationship in therapy. And the therapist is going, that sounds like abuse. We're not going no further. Let's talk about this. Let's share about this. And so in talking to this therapist that I've known in person 3 weeks, but I've followed for 2.5 years. I would share stuff with her, and I would like her post. She would like my post, and that was it. So don't shit on social media and say that those connections are not valid, because they are. When I shared that with her, she did very similarly to what Dr. Tubman did for me. Was she acknowledged me. And one thing that really stuck with me outside of the pathology commentary that she made, was her saying, and I'm paraphrasing because it's still taking root, her saying that you are not liable for what others have done to you. You are not the victim. And in this past relationship, it was constantly burned into my psyche how much of a victim I was. I played victim. I was this, I was that, constantly. So much so that I began to hate the word victim, because it was always being lobbed at me as what I was. If I spoke my truth, I'm a victim. She said that there are people out there that are predators. They are just that. They are predators. And what they see is prey. They don't see anything else. They don't know anything else. They see prey. And you were groomed from childhood to be prey, to be something that people can take advantage of, to be something that people can throw their cares on, to be something that people will look at to just do their bidding and their work, because you were vulnerable in that space, and they built you up to be that. And you were not out here, and we tend to do that too, that whole thing of why do I keep attracting the wrong people, why do I keep pulling in the wrong things, blah blah blah. She was like, no, I know that's what you're thinking right now, but that's not what this is. This is not you pulling in the wrong people. This is not you making the wrong choices. This is not what this is. This is you were prey amongst predators. And how you begin to release yourself from that and to cut that attachment is to realize that you are worthy. You are able and deserving of supportive, open love. You just are. And I flat out told her, like, that is an identity that I am not used to. And what I appreciate about that is that she did not push me. She did not say, oh, well, you're just going to have to work through that because this is what we're doing in therapy. This is why I'm here. This is why you pay me, blah, blah, blah. She went, okay, I understand that. Take with that what you will. Allow it to do what it needs to do. And we'll just keep working on it. And as someone who is always, now I won't say always, because I don't want that to sound like it's still happening, but it is something that I consciously work on. For someone who had their choice and their right taken away from them so much that it became normalized, to have someone go, hey, here's something for you, and you do with that what you will, and you make the right choice for you. It's such a small thing for somebody else, but for me, it is giant. Someone coming into my life and going, make the choice that you want to make. It's fine. Hey, I just offered something, and you told me that it's a little heavy for you. Okay, we'll keep working. We'll keep doing whatever we need to do. You do with that what you will. And there was no ulterior motive. There was no, I'm saying one thing, but I actually want you to do another, and I need you to read through those lines. Like, there was her acknowledging, I know this is hard for you, blew my mind. And I'm still shaken by it, because again, that's something I'm not used to. I'm not used to people going, oh, you having a hard time with this? Oh, okay. You good. Don't take your time. Work through it how you need to work through it. I'm here when you need me. I'm more used to doing that for other people than having it done for me without there being any price tag attached, or without there being some expectation that I need to come through on the other side to make this easier and better for other people. So to hear the pathology be laid out in front of me, and to see it in real time as she's explaining it, I felt my spirit deflate. And not in a, oh man, but like, you know that feeling when you have had your shoulders up to here all day. You know what that feels like. And you realize it, and then you go, oh, okay. And you feel yourself realigning how you're supposed to. That's how I felt. Because it felt like somebody finally let me off a hook I did not know I was on. Or I was aware I was on, but anyone know the term learned helplessness? That was me. I had learned how to be helpless. I had learned, it had been ingrained and punished in me to be helpless, because that's the best way I can be. That's the best thing I can do. Just go be helpless. Be helpless, so we can mold you, and you can be malleable. We can do whatever we want with you because you're helpless. And so having someone come along and go, no, you don't have to be that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say that. You don't have to be any of that. And so I'm still allowing it to take root. It's still ringing around, knocking around in me because it's fresh. Like our therapy appointment was 8 hours ago, 8.5 hours ago. So it's still very fresh. But I knew I wanted to do my reading today, and the reading that I am doing is not any of the 4 that I had before. It's actually another one that's it's in my book, and it talks very specifically about what I just talked about. So as I wrap up, because I don't want this to be super long, because I know how I can get on lives and I forget what time it is, and I go, oh shit, I've been here for an hour. But I'm going to read this, and if anybody wants to talk offline or after this, let me know. But thank you all for joining me so far, and I really hope you appreciate this. And I am going to offer a trigger warning as well for this, and I even put the trigger warning in my book, just in case you're flipping through and you're like, oh, nope, don't want to read that. And so because I understand how difficult this can be. So this chapter is called How I Began Reclaiming My Time and Body. So the trigger warning here is partner assault and oral rape. So that's a trigger warning. I understand if anybody's like, ooh, I don't want to do that. I understand if you want to go, but I just wanted to give you that space and acknowledgement that this is something that can be a little triggering. Okay. Sometimes the mind breaks down on you. You forget details. You pass something off as just a thing that happened. Like the time an ex-boyfriend intentionally slammed my open mouth onto his penis during oral sex. I had asked him not to hold my head as it hurts when he did. He agreed. I trusted his word. He did it again, this time holding me down harder while attempting to bounce my head and not let me move. I couldn't breathe. I jumped back and screamed. I trusted him. He blamed me, his obsession with a certain porn act, and past girlfriends who let him do it before. It was punishment for ruining the mood and not getting into his kink. I was driving to work over 5 years later when that came rushing back to me. I didn't know what to do with this information. The remembrances of a condom being removed in the beginnings of my last relationship. When I asked him if he removed the condom, he told me things looked clean and he wanted to see how it felt. Me pulling away from him and attempting to coerce me back into sex, which I refused. The senior during my freshman year in high school cornering me after confessing he liked me and told me to touch his penis. The unwelcome dick pics, the demands to smile, the threats that I'd better minimize myself or be alone forever. I took all of this to mean that I was broken, an attraction only to worse broken men who deemed me acceptable. Getting comfortable. Sorry. I took this to mean that my lot was to wade through garbage while pussy popping for my man at the time. Religion told me my body wasn't my own. Society agreed, adding anything that happened to me was of my own doing. Two convoluted thoughts existing in one space. A breakdown at 12 years old during winter break triggered some repressed memories. I can't tell you how or why I began to speak out about my molestation from ages 8 to 10. I struggled with the parts where I liked the attention my molester was giving me. It was the only time someone had paid me any mind. I left out that I thought it was normal, that this was just a part of growing up, that no one explained to me that this was wrong, so it must be okay, right? I sit and think about this from time to time. What would have happened had someone intervened? If someone told me it wasn't right, safe, or regular, where would I be? What would I have done? Would I not have attacked and shunned my body in penance? Would I still have waited until marriage to have sex because I was so ashamed? Would I still regard my body as a burial ground for abuse? It's taken me years to learn how to love every inch of me. I'm still reconciling being a sexual being with the events that have taken place over the course of my 32 years. It almost feels audacious, brazen even, like going from one extreme to the other. Within growth, within unashamed trips to the adult toy section, within owning my version of sensuality, I found a voice airing out harassment and calling out ain't shit toxic behavior. It has not been easy here. There are the dark days when I attack myself, ask myself why wasn't I stronger? Why did my brain forget these details? I remember the traumas, the attempts to move forward and to put them past me, the fear and loathing of my own body. I sat with myself one day as the guilty feelings were attempting to push through. I asked, what's the truth here? Why are you feeling this way? This is where I started to truly unpack, and this gem was revealed to me. You did not fail. You were failed. Every adult that should have protected you failed. This isn't on you. Let that sink in as I continue to do the same. There are days my walk is nothing less than legendary. Days I take double glances in a passing window and twerk for no reason. Days I touch my body in ways no one else can. And there are days I can do none of the above. Both are valid. So part of this book that I did was I added some anecdotes at the end of each chapter. My chapters aren't long, maybe 3 or 4 pages each. But one of the things that I wrote in this particular thing is, at the end of this particular chapter, is some ways of reclaiming your body after sexual trauma. Number 1, I'm still learning. It's not something that I have all of the answers to, because even today I learned something about me that I did not know was a lesson for me until now. So, but I am still learning. One thing that I have really embodied and continue to embody is healing is not linear. Healing also never ends. Healing is something, especially if you've gone through something traumatic, healing is something that is continuous. It does not stop. It does not give you a break. There are moments where you both regress and progress. And for some, that could be really difficult. That could be really frustrating because you don't want to continue having to heal, but it's par for the course. Like, healing is something that you cannot get away from if you so choose to heal from these things. So I'm still learning. Since starting this book, I have been working to obtain my sexology certification. Obtaining my sexology certification is important to me because it gives me ownership of my body again. Sexology is literally that, the science of sex. And because I am a full-fledged nerd, anything that has to do with the breaking down of something and tearing it apart to figure out why it does what it does is what makes me really connected to it and what makes me want to go after it. So when I found out about sexology and getting my certification, I initially was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then as I started doing more research into it, I realized that, oh, I can literally help other people like me. And then it got into the space like, oh, I can help myself. Got it. Because my way of understanding something is to dive headfirst into it, what better way to explore the thing that caused me so much shame in all its glory? Because that's how I operate. Blame the trauma. My focus is on sexual reclamation after trauma, be it molestation, sexual assault, rape, sexual violence, body shaming, and religious dogma. Fully reclaiming my body is an exercise of grit and humility. It's a full-time job with bumps and bruises and fears and missteps, but it's something that I can't see myself not doing. One tool, and this is something that I would love for y'all to pick up. On top of picking up my book, I would love for y'all to pick up, in case and if you want to go down this route, in which that I've talked about, there's a really awesome book called Pussy Prayers, and it's by Black Girl Bliss, and it's more of a personal narrative versus like, you know, the books that I have are like the Ethical Slut and the Vagina Bible and those sort of things that are more clinical. Pussy Prayers is more personal narrative. So if you want to read essays about this woman's quest as she's reclaiming her body after sexual trauma, it's a really good book to pick up, and it's on Amazon. I'm gonna say it's like $20. This is also $20. Do yourself a favor, and buy my 10th book because it's awesome. But one tool I picked up and have used on myself is an exercise explained in Pussy Prayers by Black Girl Bliss. When you're mentally and emotionally open, start by placing your hand on the part of you that has been traumatized, whatever that is, whatever part of your body that is. This may take some building up towards, as we tend to shame the body part more than the perpetrator. Hi. So hold it, and for now just say, I see you, I feel you, give no shame, accept no shame, take as much time as you need here. Don't allow any thoughts to rush you. Sit, cry, lament, wail, scream. Do whatever invites the purest intentions, and build from here with your own rituals. There's no wrong way when it comes to your reclamation, as long as you're safe, giving and asking consent, and living your truth. So that is my chapter reading for today. That was more of a chapter reading in chat, and I'm really grateful for everyone that has watched this live and have engaged with me. I can't see the comments because I actually slid the comments over. So if anybody's commented, I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond yet. Because I get distracted fast. So I'll be doing this the whole time like, oh yeah, Gary, that ain't gonna fit this video. So, but I'm really grateful, and I hope that something that I've said, by way of what my sex therapist said to me today, has helped someone. That is honestly why I do the work that I do, and I am not ashamed to say I do the work for me as well as for other people. I think that's how we get lost, when we get so caught up in the spaces where we say we do it for other people and we forget ourselves, especially as black women and femmes specifically. We tend to forget about ourselves along the way. And me being somebody who has been taught that, it's a really toxic thought process to break, but I'm on my way to break it.